mature.
Greetings and salutations all, and welcome back to Invisible Let's Play the Project. I'm your host Invisible from Invisible's Gaming channel, striking at your hearts from the dark side of the moon. And today, I almost did not stream at all, because I'm starting very late, a little bit too late, and there will be no gameplay again. This is the second part of the bonus. All we will be doing today will be just continuation of looking at Alice Mendes Returns Art of Alice from 2012, the PDF book. From this very moment, if you don't wish to just watch me comment or react on the artwork, you can take your leave instantly, because for the next 2 hours I'm just going to be showcasing the PDF book, and that's it. We already finished the game and already showed you all the extras, all the memories, all the dresses, weapons, etc. I thought about showing you the final boss fight using the Flesh Maiden dress, since with that dress we can defeat the final enemy using the Hysteria mode non-stop. But I thought it would be just a waste of time. Also, for today's session I am not putting my earphones on, because there is no need for them. I'll just be commentating on the PDF file, that's it. With that being said, I'd like to pray peace be upon all of my subscribers and commentators, followers, fans and friends, everyone from the beasts of the Altered Empire and everyone from the Discord server for YouTube friends. By name, peace be upon Thunderstruck Gaming, BH09 Gaming, Lex Bear, Marcus, NatroCrash31, Mark IC2211, Rogue Agent Kerodan, Cryfield, ZPTV123, Matthew 1121, Cigaracron85, Alfred, Musclepan Gaming, and Bob Express. With that being said, let's just quickly jump to the rest of the PDF file of Art of Alice Mendes Returns by American McGee. Last time we stopped here at page 15 out of 187. We watched some artworks from the team of Spicy Wars, and it was very beautiful. We also learned about American McGee's early life and how he got so much creativity and inspiration from his own childhood to make his super acclaimed American McGee Alice, that super game. Today we shall just continue on with scrolling down literally to showcase the rest of the book, that's it. If you are into this kind of stuff, welcome. I hope you enjoy the settings. If you're not, you are more than free to leave. I will not force anyone to sit down with me. If you wish to ask me who is this one viewer or concurrent viewer, this is me. I have right now opened the YouTube application for myself to make sure that any live commentary feedback is instantly replied to, even though I highly doubt anyone will be willing to come here. Anyway, no need to waste time. I'm going to stay here for 2 hours only, not 2 hours and 30 minutes. So let's just keep moving and check the artworks. This looks like Alice walking around in London in her blue dress or something like that. Let's hear the commentary. This page and facing Emmanuel Malin, KW. Some early mood shots. These are incredibly beautiful paintings, but ultimately we wanted to root Alice in a more recognizable, less abstract world. Don't forget that the team's focus was to make as much abstract London environment as possible. Next page. Wow. What is this? Looks like a big... Is this a graveyard? Wow. This has some seriously negative effect. This is beautiful. Also the decorations, the graves, I think this is a church or chapel, possibly. Where's Alice? Oh, so this is an image without commentary. Then give me here in one page. No. I said fill in one page, please. Yeah, this is beautiful. The negative filter. The trees, graves, or stones, whatever. Beautiful. Here's Alice. This was made by Emmanuel Marlin. Also, some broken buildings, and she's flying over the castle. Beautiful. Those, I think, maybe trees or tentacles. Some clouds. Yeah, the colors are beautiful. I'm not here to critique every single piece of art. We're just here to quickly look at them, appreciate them, and then move on. We have quite a lot of pages to go through. Let's see. Alice. What is this thing? Above. Taylor Lockett. Wonderland merges into London. Jack the Ripper. H.P. Lovecraft. Below left. Ben Kerslake, KW. Ben is a great concept artist, but on Alice, he served as a creative director. It was a rare treat to get this bit of early art from him, capturing a nice, strange moment. Below right, Julie Dillon, KW. An idea for the Red King, bound in the first asylum. So this was supposed to be Jack the Ripper. Why is there a strange fascination with tentacles? I don't know. But this is amazing. Alice. Wake up. This looks like Bambi. And this is Alice in her headdress, I think, custom. Following pages. Sun Goleong. This is a giant princess who gives birth to a lot of monster babies. Alice ends her suffering by killing her. We didn't really use it in the game. Perhaps it was too bloody. KW. Our artists are all nice, pleasant people, so we really had to push them to explore their dark side for this game. This image is a result of me telling Sonny to go darker. Maybe we went too far. What are you talking about? Oh. Ow. Give me this, please. Some baby shadows, and a princess with her breasts out, and Alice is killing her. Also, she tied her hands. Yeah, looks like you went way too dark, but also, I believe this kind of artwork does resemble Alice, American McGee's Alice. I don't see honestly anything wrong with this one, because this is the American McGee's Alice. It's supposed to be dark. This is artwork, not nudity. You can't report it. This is all just art. And this is the rest of the screen. Wow. Too many demonic babies. Honestly, killing babies is not that dark for me. They are just nuisance, and I personally nearly hate them. I'm not joking. Embryos, babies, etc. Wow. Tyler Lockett. A sketch for a rickety slits world, supported by thin blankets of wood, reflective of Alice's fragile state of mind. Wow. I really pity her. The Mad Hatter. Taylor Lockett. The Mad Hatter as an East End ruffian. Wing Shingal. KW. Some early ideas for the broken down Mad Hatter for Wonderland. So this is how he's supposed to look like, and then they broke him down because he's already broken because of Alice's own mind. Left Lewis Milo, right Tyler Lockett. LM. The Tea Party turned into a nightmare. This one was a concept for a living muffin creature who was not too happy to have his face bitten and his blueberry brains oozed out. I think this is Humpty Dumpty, and that's the muffin. What's this? Lewis Milo. This is another character from the initial brainstorming for new characters based on the eccentric animal and Victorian references. An Australian ostrich art aristocrat obsessed with snatching up Humpty Dumpty so she can hatch a monster out of him. Ow. Maybe KW. Lewis had no problem capturing the ridiculous Victorian root of Wonderland. So she was going to violate Humpty Dumpty. Wow. Let's read a little bit in here if I can. This was just a silly idea, one of the first of doing a sociality ostrich. I thought she could be looking to forcibly hatch Humpty Dumpty due to her inability to lay eggs, believing him to be a long-forgotten ostrich egg. She could be a Wonderland reflection of someone awful wanting to adopt Alice against her will after she left the asylum. Probably needs some more evil twists. Ow. Okay, let's go back here, 100. And to move on. Taylor Lockett is the person that drew this. Alice is right here, running. And the entire area is filled with pollution and drainage. This is, I think, London again, with some parts of Wonderland merged into it. Incredible focus on childhood. Coquelin. Some ideas for the level of the moon, of a level on the moon made of cheese. KW, I absolutely love one Coquelin. Liang's unique rendering style and outrageous monster design. I'm recording this. Yes, I'm recording it. I am rendering it. Yes, I'm rendering it. And I don't really care if someone actually is still watching this or not, because I told you this is the second bonus part. I'll just show you the rest of the book, and then we'll be done with this project. That's it. Project Let's Play Alice Madness Returns is already finished. Once I finish showing you this book, most likely I'm going to take 2 days off to collect my mind and prepare the next project. Also, once my new semester starts, I'm not sure how often will I be able to keep up with those streams. We'll see. So he has rats, more rats, demonic babies. Son Gullian, a weird baby. We decided not to use it in the end. American loved it very much. KW, this baby was our first test character model after Alice. It was about 4 meters tall. It was also featured on a Spicy Horse Christmas card that year. You really love this baby's madness. One Kong Leon, one Cook Leon, KW, some really wonderful designs for Dollhouse that was we never had time to use. So it's not just about the types of the creatures you fight, but also some enemies you couldn't include into the game itself. Alice holding the verbal blade, fighting a giant snail. Lots of snails. On a lighthouse. Amazing. So here, we'll fit on our play page. Yeah. The rest of it is right here. Facing page, Ken Wong. I want to create a key illustration for the game to help define its direction early on. In this picture, I wanted to capture the uniqueness of our heroine and the ridiculous, surreal situations she finds herself in. This image eventually accompanied the announcement of the game and was the only piece of art released publicly for some time. By the way, if you don't want me to continue on with those bonus parts until we finish literally every single page in this art book, I can just put for you the link. You can check it on your own. I don't really mind it, but again, I need to go check the project's schedule so I know what am I going to do next. Most likely, I'm going to be playing 2 requested games. We'll talk about them once we finish here. Nako. The brief was to design a creature that lives in Wonderland forest with a bull's head and a bird's body. We tried out a lot of combinations. Some look gentler, and other looks violent. I think this is the mock bird. Damn, the Chinese artists are really great artists. Nako KW, the cowbird, also known as Mook Sparrow, always made us laugh. We eventually did both male and female versions. Wow. This next one, some NPCs, I think. Above, Taylor Lockett. A colorful, light-packed street gang. I was shooting for a balance between menacing and humorous. Below, Taylor Lockett, an early map of Victorian London, showing different hoods, KW. Actual 19th century London provided a lot of inspiration. The deeper we dug, the more filth we uncovered. London was not a pleasant place in those days, especially for a crazy young woman like Alice. So this is just a gang. Also, I can see that steel pipe. And other things? Not really. Oh, this is the map. Victorian London. The dogs, the Rutledge Asylum. Right here. Okay. Shambles. I'm not going to read the entire map, just take a look at it. Facing page, Taylor Lockett. A festively pumped Victorian gentleman. Early on, we were trying to decide how far to push the character's proportions. Yeah. This is, I think, the scaling for the characters and the environment. But honestly, yeah, the entire area is very big and also disgusting. If it was in the truly Victorian London, that is. Let's see here. Someone is smoking. I think he's an aristocrat by the design. The docks and a very dark looking black city. Take a look at an extremely sooty London compiled from old Victorian photos. Yeah, I can see it. I need to give the game all the possible credit and value to it. That's why I'm sharing with you what happened with American McGee's team throughout for showcasing this book here. Alice is right here with her verbal blade and walking. There's some creature here and lots of other ghost-like creatures in London. Sun Golion. The transition between London and Wonderland, one of my favorite pieces. KW, a study of the visual difference between London and Wonderland. London is grey, gritty, and low contrast. Wonderland is full of color, with the dark shadows and the bright light. This is also the only real environment art we create for the Veil of Tears. Veil of Tears? So the transition between Wonderland and London, just like we saw in the game itself. Lots of buildings. I think this is the Big Ben. Also, nicely drawn illustrations. I think this is a Victorian London, and how you transition from it to Wonderland. Yeah. How Alice sees the transition between London and Wonderland both. Honestly, this game is amazing. Lots of cogs around. What is this? A big underwater area, I think. I don't really understand, but it looks amazing. Here's Alice in her adult form, just diving underwater. I knew she was supposed to be able to dive underwater. Like in American McGee's Alice, she's a very good diver and a very good swimmer. But why did they cancel it? Or is it just because they didn't want the players to look down her skirt? Because in American McGee's Alice, under her skirt there is nothing really, just some block of white and nothing else. If you wish really to ask about it, in Alice Madness Returns, if you were to look down her skirt, also, there is nothing. They made sure that they gave her, I think, maybe pantyhose or a short to wear, even in her siren dress. I didn't look it up. It's just that lots of images around the fan art shows hair like that. Also, some 3D role models show her. There's nothing at all beneath her skirt. This was done by Taylor Lockett. They weren't generous, they were artists. She's right here, and a fish is with a human feet, might I add, is fishing humans. Wow. This one is crazy. Ken Wong. Let's see here. Louis Miller. The goal of for creating an encounter with the Duchess cook was to turn the mayhem of that part of the book into pure horror. We went the disgusting way, trying to come up with the most foul-looking and pig-innered obsessed woman we could find. No wonder then they gave her a pig's nose. She was supposed to be a semi-humanoid, semi-pig. Wow. And here's Alice fighting her, running around the area with pigs. And the kitchen. This could have been one hell of a boss fight. A very strong boss fight. But of course, they couldn't add it. Sorry. Son Golyang. This was a point over for Mr. Toad living in the sewer. Ken and I tried a lot of interesting and disgusting ideas, like Alice destroying the eggs. This also was supposed to be another boss fight. By now you know that there are no boss fights except for the one only. I have no idea who the second person here is. But whoever you are, I hope that you are enjoying watching the illustrations of Alice Madness Returns art book. I want to get the full story, since even if you finished the entire video game, so much was cut from it, and we are already seeing it as is here. Mr. Toad. Above left, Son Golyang. The Frog Footman. I collected many Victorian servants' photos when designing this. Okay, seems legit. Above right, Son Golyang. Abused fish servant. I like the hook on his mouth, though it is removed in the final version. Right is Son Golyang. Very talented individuals. I love the art. Okay, what is this? Alice is trying, I think, to open some kind of a puzzle, and there is another creature behind her. Tyler, look at Alice opening a doorway in a wall as a huge centipede descends behind her. The environment was so real, stage set quality to it. Yeah, I can see it. All of this could have been in the game. Wow. All of this could have been in the game. Look at a nightmarish industrial graveyard environment. We were looking at a lot of big senki early on. So individuals that are having some hooks for hands and are literally breeding other creatures to their hands. And here is Alice standing. Damn! The game could have been much darker. With fire. And whatever this thing is. Let me guess, the centipede was supposed to be another boss fight. I'm not going to count these. Caterpillar by Taylor Lockett. Okay. Wow. This is Alice jumping through tears. And all of those are, I think, her own face crying. Maybe. Okay, Julie Dillon, KW. We always liked this idea inspired by Alice's Pool of Tears, but it would have been a huge technical challenge for just one scene. Understandable. Okay. No fair, no ride. Wow. Lewis Miller, a steamboat tortoise. The only way to get around this soggy and murky part of Wonderland, if you can figure out how to pay the fare, that is. This came up when we were brainstorming about possible new characters for Wonderland and what their role and interactions with Alice would be. She's running here through some area to a castle and a steamboat tourist. Wow. Let's continue here. Top and bottom. Look at Taylor Lockett. Wonderland with a twisted, floating Victorian London and abstract brain synapse surroundings. Lewis Miller. This creature sketch was directly derived and amplified in the wickedness from a part of through the looking glass, and what Alice found there in which table object and the cutlery came to life in the form of a bizarre flying creature. So this is supposed to be the Victorian London. This game could have been so much more. Wow. I mean, had they gone the whole 9 yards with those ideas? Wow. Also, this is supposed to be a plate, and it turned into a flying enemy with forks, 4 feet, and whatever this thing is. Thank you for the 100% flood charge notification. Wow! Is this supposed to be London? With a floating land? Some flames or whatever? And this creature here? Or place? I salute you all. What is this? Clouds Hunter. Okay. Mad Hatter's the domain. Doll's World. Something Garden. Fiat Caterpillar's Garden. So this is supposed to be the hub, maybe. Books World. Wonderland. Where's Alice? I don't see her. Wow. Neko. This is an old map of the whole game. The level design changed a lot after that, and some parts were removed. You can see we had planned a level on the moon, but it was removed, as was the MC Easter level. It was supposed to be a level on the moon. I think we need to go down more to check the other page. Yeah, there should have been a moon level. Easter right here. The game could have been much bigger. The train, the icy globes, the seaside, the Queenland, Sunken and memory. Section memory. The game could have been really big. It's always nice to see you, Alice. Yeah, this is just an illustration by Lewis Milo of Alice in her original sketch using an umbrella instead of her volleyball blade. She looks very good. The puffed shoulder pads, the long skirt, the white area, and also the Omega necklace. She always had that lovely face. Yeah, and the green eyes. Very good, very good. Stop commenting about Alice's appearance and get moving. We still have lots of papers to go through. I know. Okay, chapter 2. Alice and her dresses. Finding our Alice was perhaps the biggest struggle. For the art team, the heroine of American McGee's Alice is very well designed. Virtually, she has a great silhouette from every angle, and she's recognizable as being the Alice of Carol and Tennille's creation, while having her own distinct American McGee's style. True, that's all true. However, the art team quickly found that bringing Alice into high resolution for the modern age was not easy. The 3D Alice model in the original game looks quite different from her form in the marketing material. True. Like the box cover, she looks different again in the concept art. And as a toy, we even looked through piles of art contributed by fans over the years. Except for how people saw and remembered our main character. She's lovely. Each of our artists did their own take on this blue dress, Alice, but that really stuck. Part of the problem was that her anatomic style needed to be tied in with the art style of the whole game, which was also being debated. The months ticked by, and the patience wore thin, as we argued over style and anorexia and Angelina Jolie. And Angelina Jolie, are you serious? Tempers were thin, frustration ran high. I think the only aspect we agreed on easily was that we didn't want Alice to have oversized breasts. Really? That's it? The only thing you agreed on was you didn't want her to have oversized breasts. That's literally it. Whatever. I mean, she's still a young woman as is. She's an adult, but she's still a young adult. Also, I think I would have maybe preferred her with bigger breasts. My taste, really. After three major revisions, we developed a model that was in a direction that everyone could at least partially agree on, and after months of tweaking, our Alice came through, somehow looking like everyone always expected her to be. Besides the classic blue dress, Alice appeared in a variety of dresses and design that made it into our early prototypes had Alice changing dresses every time she switched to one of her four weapons. Okay. It looked really great, but became impractical when our weapon system changed. We decided to give Alice a unique custom for each of the Wonderland domains she would visit, a little inspired by the Sill. These were later expanded to include downloadable dresses and the Hysteria dress, replacing the Rage Box power-up from the first game. I knew that, yeah. From the beginning, we knew we wanted to show a maker more downtrodden Alice in London, the girl who had been locked up for years in an insane asylum. In contrast to the blue dress and domain dresses, this design evolved very little and without much fuss throughout the duration of the project. So seriously, the only thing that you all went mad about wasn't about the dresses, but you didn't want her breasts to grow, even though she is right now an adult, and in fact she is in her age of marriage. So this is just kind of nonsensical, honestly. I did mention that in the first game, since she was still a young girl, she was completely flat, but in the Alice Madness Returns, she looks more like an adult, a grown woman, not a child anymore. So, buddy, just stop talking about her tits. Stop it. She was supposed to be just a woman with psychological problems, I think. Son Young, we were pursuing the stop motion style, so I adapted some Corpse Bride inspiration in the design. I know she looked too weak, but I think the personality is good. I think this kind of style also was shown to us through another video game right now, not previously. I think once Mark played it, Slay the Princess. She has a very lengthy neck, but also again, this is a stop motion style. Beautiful hair and face, but also she looks rather really weak. This style looks much more mature, grown up. I like the hair, the face, the eyes, the dress itself. Also, yes, I can see that they didn't much develop her chest area, and her breasts aren't that big. Who did this work here? Also, this one, Alice, red dress, the verbal blade. Ben Kerslake. This piece is an early exploration of the Alice character and the brand in a high graphic style. It was an attempt to capture her typically nonchalant attitude toward the extreme and often violent events she witnessed or actively takes part in. The juxtaposition of the outward calm and inner turmoil makes her into a compelling subject. Left Sun Golyang. So Sun Golyang is the one that drew this one. Everyone just were sure about the Victorian London style of the buffed shoulders and the long skirt. Otherwise, they wanted her to keep her identity without making her to look too much grown-up woman. Don't forget, she's supposed to be still the mentally broken person. Okay, this is Alice under the rain with Cheshire Cat. Let's see here. Sun Young, KW. Our team actually started working on Alice months before we had a deal in place. Just as the deal was being signed, the 2008 financial crisis caught up with our publisher, and the deal was cancelled along with the many other projects. Sony painted the picture on that sad day. Several months later, after a lot of hard work and negotiations, the deal was resurrected and we resumed our art. Ben Kerslake. These images represent very different directions that both the Alice character and the entire game may have taken. It was important to us that Alice remained a character players could relate to. We cycled through countless variants of proportions and shape. Show me here. Honestly, the one they ended up with is the most one relatable. One with very buffed shoulder pads and very big skirt with a unique style of face and hair. One with the umbrella again, and one from the side. Alice was supposed always to be a Victorian London dark character. She was supposed to be a strong woman character that also kept on going with her own feminine side. Yes, she has strong personality, but she still understands her own position. Wow. I do have an appreciation for faces, but this is wow. Sun Young. I tried a lot of styles during the designing of Alice's face to make her look more haggard. This one looks unrealistic a little bit. This one looks really wow. Seductive. Maybe because it's more of an anime style, I'm not really sure. This one looks sad. This one looks like it's from Corpse Bride or some of the other films of the stop motion. This one looks more like a portrait. This one looks so seductive. She is looking really good in this one. I think my favorites are this one and this one. She looks really nice. Left to right is Sun Young. Left to right. Those I mean, maybe. Sun Young. Ben Kerslake, Ken Wong, SGL. We really tried a lot of styles for Alice's face. I can see that very clearly. But that was one hell of a work. So throughout all of these faces, they ended up with the face we ended up with. But how many faces you had, Alice? Each of these images is a composite of different Alices by different artists, created to examine the different proportions and styles we were trying. As you can see, all the faces share the same common theme. Long black hair, green eyes, big or small, and a face of strong will with a blue dress. Also, I can see that the dress is right here. Again with the idea of the umbrella. But yes, she also had some really daring dresses. I think this one is from the street arts, prostitutes maybe. I'm not really sure about this one. Or this one. Are all those dresses for Alice also? Or just NPCs? I think those are also her dresses. Above, Sun Gulyang, Alice's London costume. I realized later that these designs are too adult. Yeah, they are. They are really very much adult. She looks like a woman, not a young adult. She looks like a completely grown-up woman, not an adult. Not not a young adult. But also, I mean, if she is she's going to really look like this, she will have a suitor very quickly. She's damn good looking. Lift. Sun Golyang, two Alice designs. You can feel I tried many different styles. I thought this was Alice and Elizabeth, but yeah, I can see the designs. Let's zoom in them a little bit so we can see them a little bit more. I want to give credit where credit is done. Credit is due. Scale. Okay, another again with the umbrella, the idea. Yeah, I can see it. As for her adult sized dresses, zoom out. Yeah, this looks like an adult Alice completely. Which is not the goal for the team since they wish to keep Alice in a certain age style. 46 out of 187. We are progressing rather quickly with this. Only 46 minutes. Wow. Amazing. See here. Yeah, I'm the only one that's not watching. Frankly, I don't care. Sun Goyang, Alice's hairstyle, I felt like a professional artist, stylist. See here for the hairstyles. I still believe that the lengthy, just straight down is the most beautiful one, prettiest one. And that face, even though you look like you have gone through many problems, you're still really nice looking. I mean it. I love long straight hair. Some maybe curly, short, shoulder length, I think. Bald, short, also even a little bit over the shoulders. Boyish cut. Not sure what this one is called. Neither this one. This looks weird. And this with a scarf for what? What for? Okay, here's the hair bald. I think this is for the straight jacket. And this also here. Neko, Alice in the Asylum, I spent a lot of time on the details of her clothes. I could tell. I think this is how she developed from her normal self with a long hair and the blue dress, then shorter hair and even looks like different color dyes, then the bald, no hair and crying. Left Sun Golyang. I am starting to love this artist. Alice more and more crazy. At least the cut of she cut off her hair. Right, Hongli KW. The final design for Alice Asylum is this one. Facing page Ben Kerslake an impressionic take on Victorian London at night. I think this is the next one. Alice with her umbrella. Wow. This team really knew how to draw the Victorian London era. I'm not mocking, I'm really genuine. This is beautiful. So when did they change from Alice with an umbrella into the Alice with the Vorpal blade? Also, yes, they even nerfed her breasts even more. We were supposed to get this Alice instead of this one. Honestly, they did the great job of picking the later one. This isn't that much relatable. Let's see here. Oh, this is the composition of her dress. Wow. Eris is the ruler of strife and discord. Jupiter, mind rising above the horizon of matter. Layer 1 is the apron. Layer 2 is the blue skirt. Layer 3 is the petticoat. I think the undergarments stuff. 4 leg top fades to black. This is how her dress is composed, basically. Wonderland Alice is a beautiful but disturbed fighter, an adventurer in her own mind. She has the powers enough to take on danger of Wonderland. That's true. That is true. Alice has a split personality: the Wonderland Alice and the normal Alice. The London Alice is a fragile, recovering mental patient. She struggles to maintain her grasp of reality while dealing with the horrible daily life of a London's vice and industrial upheaval. I'll zoom in on the dress arts right now. Just give me a moment. Above, Ken Wong. For quite a while, this was the hero image of Alice, even though nobody was really happy with it. Her thinness or stylization was particularly continuous. Her London costume remained mostly unchanged. Left Ken Wong and Jin Lee. KW. Alice's pocket symbols didn't mean anything at first in the first game, so we revised them for this one. The image on the right was the final concept art we argued about before we started arguing full time about the 3D model. So this was the official final design for Alice before they started arguing about the 3D model. She is super slender. Seriously flat, but for someone in her age, it's just normal. And overall, this is this one here. I think it's the final model. Looking good. The Alice we all related with. Show me here the dresses types. A very normal one here. The eye shape. The pear shape with wider hips and non-existent top. We have here an upside down triangle with a very wide skirt. We have here another one with super flat top and rather wide and rounded bottom. We have here some kind of an hourglass shape, and the last one is again some more hourglass shape. This was the final concept, basically. The Vorpal blade, the symbols, the Omega necklace, the blue dress. Above King Wong, I was pushing the art style as far as I could here, which for some people meant I was pushing as far as possible in the wrong direction. Below Wong Lee and Jin Lee. Yes, you did. You did push so much their style here. Wow. You're still holding on to that umbrella, huh? This one looks so dark. It's amazing. But why this super short skirt? Wow. I know I keep saying wow, but there's nothing else to say about it. It's just amazing. This is the outfit of the Hatchers, I think. We already are at page 50. And I've spent right now just showcasing the book 54 minutes. I don't know who this person is that keeps returning back and forth, but whatever. I'm just going to continue on showcasing the book. I want to see what Alice could have been before the final product. Kong Lee and Nako. KW. I'm not really sure what KW means, honestly. Toward the end of the project, we got the chance to add downloadable dresses. Somehow these were designed and approved relatively quickly, with only one small issue regarding exposed undergarment. What do you mean? Okay. They took the concept art from Rabbit. Okay, so you're saying that the only thing that you had problem with is whenever Alice were to jump over the steam, her panties or whatever would be shown. That's why you darkened the entire area there and censored it completely. The Hatters, the Cheshire Cat, or basically you didn't want to have any undergarments for her. You wanted just the dresses and that's it. The Flesh Maiden, the Chickmate, the Caterpillar dress. They wish to keep just the main idea that how Wonderland is influencing her style. But at the same time, she's, although grown up, she's still not that much well developed, basically. Yes, I'm still going to comment about them nerfing her breast size. Don't care at all, because I do prefer women that are more well developed. You said when her house burned, she was literally 7. When the first game took place, she was 13. The second game, she's 19. And in Alice Asylum, she's supposed to be over 20. The girl keeps on growing up. She's not a child anymore. She should have some womanly features. And I'm not talking about the godforsaken cursed hips. I'm talking about her overall image. Okay, Conley, KW. These 4 dresses were the original lineup. Alice had 4 weapons, and when we switched weapons, her dresses also switched. It was a really cool thing to play with. I think this is the Vulnerable Blade. This is the pepper grinder. Not sure what this was. This supposed to be the horse? And this was supposed to be the hobby horse and the teapot. Yeah, I can see it here. Her classic dress for the Vorpal Blade with the Omega necklace. Then you have here the more looking like a cook. I think this is why it's supposed to be the pepper grinder dress. But honestly, changing her dress with every weapon sounds like a beautiful idea. Then we have here, I think, the hobby horse outfit. Since right now she has a little bit change of dress, and her cleavage is a little bit exposed, almost looking like the siren dress. And she has some fingerless gloves. Lastly, I think this was supposed to be the teapot, because she looks more like a maid than anything else. Maybe. Or maybe because of the color itself, looks like a tea. Let's see here. Even more. Hongli, KW. Eventually, we decided each Wonderland domain would have its own dress. The argument over the design of the dresses were just as heated as over the original blue dress. Were you trying to making this game for kids or for mature teenagers? Because American McGee Alice was never meant for kids at all. It was meant for mature 17 or 18 plus. This game is too dark for mistakes to play them. The steam dress, the siren. The siren originally had boots and socks. Then they removed them. Still also with this, with her exposed top, kind of. The southern dress, the Japanese dress, between Japanese and Chinese, the royal dress, and the Miss Stitch doll dress. You do need those things because before you start doing the 3D stuff, you need to have a good idea about what you're going to do. Alice on the throne, the heart throne, looking really royal. KW, this was our first Alice model created by Epic Games China. Alice is on the throne with the Cheshire Cat faces, holding as per usual the verbal blade, and looking strong, menacingly. Cheshire Cat concepts, I think. The more skeletal you make him, the more creepy he looks. This is supposed to be Daisy from Dina, her Black Cat's adaptation to Into Wonderland, I think. Okay, Hong Li and Po Jing Song, PJS. Hysteria Alice, the red and white color scheme represents the blood and rage. KW, Hysteria Alice replaced the rage box demon Alice from the first game. We went through some red dress areas before sitting on the white near death Alice. She was supposed to look like this, the red hair with the white dress, and then they decided why not give her albino white hair, dark eyes with bleeding teardrops, and overall a near-death Alice. This completely replaced the Rage Box Alice, basically. She really looks good as a character. Red dresses with skulls, with just whiteness, or just with some corset looking like thing, and then they stopped on that model. Someone modeled for Cheshire Cat. Left, Lewis Milo. Paragliding with Alice's dress over the steam vents is fun. We wanted to use that platforming element on several levels. Coming from different sources, I felt that while playing the game. Here are a couple of aesthetical variations. KW, studies of what updrafts could look like in different Wonderland locations. Below, Lewis Milo. What would Alice do if she grew to 10 times her usual size? Get revenge, of course. These are some studies for the kind of errant actions Alice might take in this stage, not only against the common enemies, but also against big, otherwise indestructible obstacles. And even scenery, KW, an exploration of the different ways giant Alice could attack. So normal air waves, more airwaves with some leaves, and then the steam looking like airwaves. Here we go with the giant Alice. Alice eats the cake and it centers at the center of the Queen's maze and breaks out of it into some rolling hills outside of the castle. Everything which before was threatening is now small and at her mercy. This is what happened. She can pick and pull things that the huge tentacles everywhere, which used to be deadly, can now be ripped from the roots. She also has a melee attack, a cake, since the world is now at her feet. You really went the power-hungry style. The card guards, however, puny, are now swarming in large numbers, though she has to keep fighting back, either by kicking or by throwing them around at each other. This was never done, just kicking and pushing them. Heavy objects such as stones can also be picked up. Some action button as to grab the tentacles and pick up card guards and throw at the enemies. This never happened. Or thrown at the enemies' outposts as they deal a lot more damage than if she kicks them down. We've discovered that later on the alternative ground kick was the strongest attack she had. So all these ideas didn't make it. Wow! Lots of planning! Left, Ben Kerslake, KW, an image explaining how the double jump and float abilities affect Alice's trajectory. Below, Ben Kerslake, KW, studies of two abilities that were eventually cut from the game, dashing through walls and dashing through barriers while swimming. Why were they cut? This looks badass. So she jumps, then double jumps here, floats, and glides. You have here the walk, the idle. She doesn't do anything really. Goes falls or lands, whatever. Moves on a rope, which was never in the last game. Swings again with this umbrella concept. Tired. She became tired. Wow. Peak. Wind could destroy the umbrella, which later on became just a defensive tool. Combat with the umbrella also. Ben Kerslake, KW, studies of Alice's movement and gestures. Alice needed to move like a brave girl, not like a trained soldier or a plucky prince. True. Even though Alice is a very strong fighter, she's still a girl. Even though she has a very strong personality and a very big problem with her attitude, she's still just a girl. And Lewis Milo, KW, we were always thinking of ways to incorporate the unicorn character into the game. That's why they turned the hobby horse into a unicorn then. They wanted her to become a unicorn herself. I'm not really sure if fans would have accepted the idea of Alice turning into a fairy. Normal, even grinding, are you serious? Speed down, speed up, change lane. She would have been acrobatic. She's good looking with this. Fusion Song, interactions with the real speed-based minigame, which was also cut. How many things were cut? Weapons. Alice's set of weapons underwent considerable change during the course of the project. Initially, she had 4 sets of weapons that corresponded to the suit of the tarot. This turned out to be too limiting, so we left the turret behind and evolved the designs we have now. Each weapon can be upgraded 3 times into a more powerful version. Our grand guiding principle is that we wanted the weapon to be bizarre and surreal, not anything you might find in a conventional fantasy world. The Verbal Blade, the Pepper Grinder, and the Hobby Horse here. The designs for the upgrades also. Hobby Horse and Teapot Cannon. This is the Verbal Blade. It's in all its majestic form. Posters. Lewis Miller, whether product of London, Wonderland or both, we chose to introduce the weapons as fabulous devices of Victorian technology. These are the ads for them, and as you may experience in the game, the gadgets live up to the hype. Verbal Blade, Pujing Song, Pepper Grinder, Nako, the Clockwork Bomb, the Teapot Cannon, Clockwork Bomb, Lewis Milo, Teapot Cannon, and the Hobby Horse Nako. Those are the people who drew them basically. Hobby horse. In the end, they turned it to become a unicorn. Like the downloadable weapon skins. The Cheshire Cat teapot, the cleaver, the grinder, and the nightmare. Nako TW. Unused designs for the hysteria weapons. The weapons Alice uses as hysteria Alice. So those were cancelled. This is the actual weapon. These are the actual weapons she uses in the hysteria mode. Also, Neko KW, unused downloadable weapon ideas. A fish, a baby, a seahorse, a hobby horse, some literal cannon hammer. Lewis Miller, a weapon devised by the carpenter combining a sunken ship cannon with the hammer handle. It doubles as a heavy ranged weapon and a powerful hammer for close range. 1 hour and 10 minutes now. I'm going to keep on going like this until we reach at maximum 2 hours. Whenever we stop, we stop. But this project of Let's Play Project Alice Madness Returns will not stop until we finish this book. I want to give you the entire image about what could have happened had they had enough funding for it. Alice using the grinder as makeshift here. Cups ranged. Cups. Cup melee. Wow. Okay, hammer melee and hammer ranged. You wanted her to have melee and range for every weapon? What's this? Wand ranged, one melee. All these ideas remind me of American McGee's Alice because they had this kind of system. The first one was melee, the second one was ranged from the first game. Jin Lee, KW, action shots of old tarot based weapons. Yeah, indeed. Those were the old weapon style. What is this? Rain with buildings and Alice with her umbrella again, standing in the front of some area. Sun Golyang. Chapter 3. London. This is 61. I think there were just 5 chapters, correct? Or more. London. From the very beginning of the project, American wanted to explore Alice's world outside of Wonderland. The Victorian London of her waking life, London in 1875, was not a pleasant place. The Industrial Revolution tore up the streets, put children to work in factories, and soiled the sky with acrid crowds of black smoke. Poverty, crime, and disease marched through the streets. The more we found out about the real Victorian London, the more we found we didn't need to fictionalize it. Wow. We wanted players to be able to see, breathe, and smell the seething city. For visual references, we were particularly inspired by the mock-filled textural Paris of perfume and by the stunning set design and lighting of the Oliver, 1986. We also drew from Roman Plonsky's 2005 Oliver Twist, David Lynch's The Elephant Man, and the recent Sherlock Holmes. We also collected reference files of architecture, fashion, and graphic design from the period and studied maps for areas that could make compelling environments. Compared to the Wonderland, Victorian London is a great disordered place, low construct, and smoggy. All the wood is half rotten. Every brick wall is cracked in soot, and all of the streets are covered in an unspeakable filth. Our approach to London's environment art focused on bringing out these qualities in the material. Though concept art, texture, shading, and geometry, we through concept art, textures, shading, and geometry, we attempted to break and sag every straight line and fill every empty space with a little debris or refuse. At the same time, we had to be cautious not to make scenes overly noisy or crowded with objects. Splashes of color were necessary to stop scenes from dissolving into a brown and gray mess. Like the Wizard of Oz, we wanted Alice's experience in Wonderland to be hinted at or foreshadowed in the real world. Observant players can find lots of subtle and not so subtle links between the two worlds. The people of London were just as important as the streets and the buildings were inhabited. Criminals, streets, urchins, and other unsavory elements prowl and shadows. Shop owners clamour for customers, bar patrons brawl and chat up whores. We did many sketches to try and find our anatomic style, eventually gravitating toward an exaggerated, caricatured look, just like what the environment. With the environment, we wanted to play up the textural elements, frayed, stained clothes, wrinkled and aged skin, tousled hair. We drew inspiration from the collector's toys, Victorian caricatures, and prosthetics work like that used for Hoggle in the Labyrinth. Okay? One more hour, as I said, and then we will stop. I want to finish this book as soon as possible, so we can get on moving with it. I think that next will all be about London. So this is supposed to be London, the Victorian London then. And those are the NPCs to the right side. Those are the children from the orphanage. Number 13, number 17. That's Dr. I seriously completely forgot your name. Sorry. Clockwise from left. Taylor Lockett, Hongli, Nako, N. Designing the layout was pretty easy. I understand the idea from the director's director quickly. The main points were that he was fat, kind, and wore pajamas. The director himself. Huh? This was supposed to be the Victorian London people, basically. The criminals. Yeah. Let's go down. What is this? Matrons, uncommon birds, or uncommon cases. Above Taylor Lockett, Alice visits a mysterious hidden shop for alternative medicine. Below Taylor Lockett, an interior sketch of Dr. Fixer's. If by now you didn't understand it, every time they credit the artist for their work and then explain what the image is about. Okay. London. Alice inside the shop, Oriental herbs. But none of this happened at all. None of this happened because you cannot explore much of London as Alice in Wonderland. Wonderland's Alice. The Omega. All of this was cut. Nako, the jail has two parts. The upper one is the real London jail, and the other one is the chaos version when Alice becomes mad. This is the Red London jail, and this one is the crazy jail. What is up with you and all the tentacles all the time? Someone had something for tentacles. The art of Alice, Madness Returns. Okay, top left, Jin Lee. Top right, Hong Lee. Below, Jin Lee, KW. These are studies for the interior of Bambi's house. These are the Bobbies, I think, the policemen. And how Alice would attack. She would take mice, fling them around, and then throw them at the police officers. That could have been a very interesting concept idea. So this is the house you start with the game into. Kinda looks like the final version. Following pages, Jin Lee, KW, character designs. The bottom image serves as a sort of style guide for the London humans. We wanted to make them exaggerated like caricatures. Caricatures. Okay, so that's almost like this is a shopkeeper, this is a whore, this is a criminal, I think, this is an aristocrat, this is another whore. Even the whores, the measurements are not really that much. Were all the women in London this flat? Another NPC. I swear the only character with beautiful artwork is Alice Aron. I mean, she's the heroine, so what were you expecting? The Kids of London, more men and NPCs. They wanted to give London much more needed life to it, obviously. The orphans or maybe the street kids. This is Alice from London, the normal one. Alice Omega from Wonderland, and another one of Black and White, Alice in Wonderland, with muskets. This was supposed to be what Alice would look like in her, I think, London maybe, dress. With this time mostly cut top. This was supposed to be the style of London queens, I think, but with much more extravagant dresses. Okay, looks so far all the NPCs look quite good. Alice was supposed to fight in London streets? For real? Or is this just some kind of... No, she was supposed to fight. She's holding out her umbrella. Some guys throwing a brick at her. And this is quite literally London. And this, I think, is... still London, and then also with the butcher market. Taylor Lockett is the one that drew these illustrations. Hong Lee KW. Most London characters were designed with the multiple heads and the ability to change color of their clothes. Understandable, yeah. The horse had 3 types of hairs, and they could change their clothes whenever they needed to. This is Nanny. Jin Lee KW. The nanny, originally a prostitute, she was later upgraded to a madame. I thought so. Since her design shows you that she was an ex-prostitute, but then she grew much more into the business and became the mistress of the business. I deduced that from her design in the game itself. This is what happens when one grows to the top of her own career. Let's see here. Louis Milo, the street merchants in London, nothing honest, intelligent, or clean about them. However, you may switch their heads around. So they all also shared the same base model. Alice in London and looking at the Victorian London with all the black. Wow, this pollution is disgusting. Wow. Sun Gold Young, Alice on the top of London House, based on Tyler's art. It looks quite good. I give you credit for it, yeah. It looks good. And also all this smoke mostly would destroy the laundry. What's this? Sun Golyang, KW. Early on, we tried designing environment as white boxes, including indicators for where gameplay should occur. An artist then did a paint over on these scenes to design the visuals. We didn't find a lot of success in this approach. We had more success giving semi-finished scenes to the artist to improve set dressing and lighting, or to design hero pieces. So originally, they gave them just the bare minimum, and the artist would then add the details, but that approach didn't work. No wonder game developing requires tons of funding, because it's all entirely trial and error. I'm having some serious, more found respect for the game developers. Another image of Victorian London with so much black smoke. Okay. Sun Golyang. A paint over of Alice in London. I enjoy the paint over tasks. It feels cool to make rough screenshots into beautiful scenes. It gives me a feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, they do. Those are the docks with the boats, and everything is working on Steam. Also, this is the brothel we visit here. Alice, the underground beneath Alice breaks. She falls into Wonderland, and she transforms. Top tier, look at KW. The mangled mermaid scene in the game doesn't stray too far from the original concept art. Above the end right, Nako, the transition to Wonderland when Alice enters Wonderland. She is in a familiar scene that she remembers from when she was a child. But later she sees some things new, a lot of dolls and train parts in the dark smoke. This lets the player know that Alice will experience a whole new adventure. Yeah, I could tell that, yeah. Especially when she transforms. I think so far the most liked moment in the whole game was Alice's first ever transformation. I said I'm going to only go for the 2 hours this time, not 2.5. So 30 minutes left. Let's see how further can we progress through this art book until we finish it. Again with the brothel house here. Looks like there's a very big fight happening between the sailors or whatever. And also Elsa's right here fighting them as well. Wow. This is the mermaid statue, I think. Carnival of oddities. Yeah. Top, Taylor Lockett, a brawl erupts outside of the mangled mermaid. Above, Louis Milo, everything in the Wonderland has a real London concept art. The Carpenter's Twisted the Musical is too twisted to be fabricated by even Alex's mind alone. She must have seen something in real life that impressed her to a great deal. Maybe she just posted for a freak show featuring an insatiable warhorse. Man was enough material to feed her nightmares. KW, a hint of things to come. Right, Yuan Schwanfeng. KW, decorations for the inside of the mangled mermaid. So this was supposed to be how she created the Carpenter and the insatiable horseman. This is the mangled mermaid because most likely she's mangled within the net. Also, those are really good racks you have there. Beautifully developed. Alice stepping on the card guards, I think. By the way, this is a Japanese character right here. Not sure what it is again, but it is a Japanese character. I read it once in Duolingo. This I'm not really sure what the character means. Also, she still has her Omega necklace. Aren't they going to explain about the Omega necklace or what? Nako, giant Alice is the queen's in the queen's domain. Alice becomes a giant when she reaches the center of the maze, allowing her to beat the card guards. I used a dynamic blur effect to show the impact. I can see it. Chapter 4, Wonderland. We are rather progressing quite quickly. Wonderland is split into several main areas, which we came to call domains, plus a few smaller areas to break up the pacing. Some Alice has visited before, others were designed as entirely new experiences with some familiar faces to guide the way. Mostly Treasure Cat. The world design of Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings movies heavily influenced the art direction. Each domain is strongly built around specific colors, materials, and shapes, controlled through style guides and color scripts. I wanted to keep a lot of variations between the location to give between locations to give each a distinct, unique atmosphere. Designing Wonderland was both incredibly fun and hugely challenging, I can tell. For the Spicy Horse concept art team, we were excited about creating a psychological dream space where anything goes. We could break the rules of logic, gravity, geography, architecture, and consistency. I did notice all of that while playing, and still have it all work as a surreal, compelling environment. Everything in Wonderland is amplified and mutated by Alice's disturbed imagination, filtered through her uniquely insane understanding. However, we soon found we all had different ideas of what should be considered our Wonderland or our Alice. It became apparent to us that the world we set out to create did have certain lines that couldn't be crossed, and we spent hours arguing about what those lines were. Eventually, we came up with a rough guide, including: keep things bold and simple, don't overdesign. This is smart. Anything else experiences in the Wonderland comes from something she's seen or read or heard about in London. Also true. Avoid demons or other religious content, obviously, because the West is an everlasting kindergarten. Keep designs Alice feminine, artistic, and playfully surreal. True, she is feminine, she is artistic, and she's still a badass warrior. But she keeps the fact that she's a girl first and foremost, which is beautiful. Still, the issue of tone was never put to rest. We had to craft an experience for both die-hard fans of Alice and for people who owns Xboxes and the PlayStations. How dark was dark enough? The thing is about Alice, American McGee's Alice for the PC was supposed to be either mature or adult only, but making it multi-platform would very easily destroy that freedom in design, since the people behind Microsoft and Sony were too much of frankly gutless people, because they wanted everything to be for babies and none others. Everything is always too much nerved. Where Butterfly is okay, where Dead Baby is okay, believe me, all this is okay. Were we going to colorful, not colorful enough? The pressure was only increasing. It was only increased knowing we would be compared against both the original game and the upcoming big budget film from Tim Burton and Disney. Not to mention the scores of the other Disney works, Alice works in film, stage, and illustrations. Looking back over all this art from the past 2.5 years, I found myself incredibly proud of how each artist rose to the challenge, developing skills they never knew they had. To spin out this fantastically rich, horrible, devious world of imaginations and nightmares. I'm similarly very sad we didn't get to include more of these amazing designs in the game. Some were cut because of the time, others because of the technical challenges, and some because they just didn't quite fit the direction of the game was moving in the time. I think this is the diary of American McGee himself. A volcano with the cogs and another volcano with the clockwork stuff. Okay, Alice is just staring at it. Valley of Tears. This is the Valley of Tears? The Valley of Tears was originally conceived as the last happy remnant of Alice's original Wonderland. It's a lush forest filled with mushrooms, flowers, and childhood toys. As the story developed, we realized we wanted to return to the valley after the infernal train had defiled it. Our initial concept of the train's destruction was like a ground-splitting earthquake, inspired by the nothing in the never-ending story. We also introduced elements of the train, oil, smoke, ash, and fire. Finally, the sky became a swirling fire maelstrom with red lightning inspired by the photographs of the eruption of I cannot read this name. The volcano in Iceland. Okay, I don't speak Icelandish, sorry. I do not speak Icelandish. Nako, the Mock Sparrow the Mock Sparrow have different personalities. The male ones are fierce and agile and love fighting. To make this more obvious, I gave them red feathers, sharp horns, and cruel eyes. The female ones are mild and look clumsy and weak, but when they are angry, even the bulls feel fear. Okay, and Alice, this is the scale for Alice and the other ones. Rainbow, this is, I believe, the continuation of the first page. Sun Golyang, this is one of my designs for Wonderland. A floating clock mountain with a lot of clock parts around it. Alice is standing near the forest, looking at the mountain. The adventure is about to begin. Okay. Drink Me, this is the shrinking potion, I think. Nako, everybody is familiar with the Drink Me bottle, which can make Alice small. We originally used the butterfly pattern on it, but switched to the flower pattern once the shrink flower came about. This flower will appear later in the game. I made the water purple so that it looks more magical. And it worked. Actually, it worked. Sun, give me a second, please. My skin is a little bit dirty. Sun Golyang. Ken asked me to depict the mock turtle standing inside a snow globe and holding a chart. It was interested in this task, and finally, Ken and I were satisfied with the design. KW, this mock turtle design is based on the painting I did in 2005. Amazing. And skill-wise, Alice is very small compared to him. Let's see here. No, the page is 78. We have at least 20 more minutes. Jin Lee and Hong Lee, HL. This is a tree for the Valley of Tears. Valley of Tears. Okay. Had some snails also. I can see a teapot. Hold it. Okay, Jin Lee and Hong Lee, HL. Snails live in the valley. There are 3 small ones and a giant one with a tree on its back. To show the fantastic style of Wonderland, I used big eyes or flower-shaped eyes as well as rich colors. I believe we did see the snails within the first level, I believe, from Wonderland, but not too many of them. Most likely this is the Mad Hatter's domain because of the floats of tea sets and kettles. Here's Alice in the front of the teapot cannon. Wow, this is a never-ending source of tea. Lewis Miller. Alice obtains the teapot cannon weapon at the site of the tea party, lost in the destruction vortex of the Valley of Doom. Perhaps it was put there to help her avenge the crumbling wonderland after the train's passage. Must possibly. Some more broken areas and floating lands. Alice standing in the middle of the environment. Wow. Generally, KW, these drawings were done to portray the transformation of the Valley of Tears into Valley of Doom. Ow. Even more, the trees broken and flying away, the mushrooms break. Alice is crying, and even more drugs are breaking. Generally, I think this statue was inspired from the Alice Mendes Returns interactive book. First, the statue is crying water, then it starts crying blood, and then it starts crying tar. Wu Yihan and Liu Milo. The pool of tears from the book was already present in the first game. True, it was. Formed by Alice's tears flowing from a statue of her. As if swimming in one's own tears weren't depressing enough, now Alice starts crying blood. What could that mean? KW, I think if we had time, we could have included a lot more self-images of Alice throughout her subconscious landscape. You should have, because this looks amazing. Hatter's Domain. We knew from the beginning that Alice would return to the domain of the Mad Hatter. Not only in an iconic, not only is he an iconic fun character, but his environment and lure allow for a lot of really cool imagery. In the original game, we meet the marsh hare and the dormouse, victims of the Mad Hatter's cruelty. Mechanically tortured, experimented. They urge Alice on to end their. They urge Alice on to the end of the level where Alice battles the Hatter himself on the giant clock face. For that second visit, our early visit was that the freed marsh hare and the dormouse had taken over the domain. To proceed in her quest, Alice would need to seek out the lost pieces of her former foe, the Mad Hatter, and they would forge an uneasy alliance in order for Alice to discover the next stage in her quest and for the Hatter to reclaim his domain from its new rulers. When the Infernal Train was introduced, we decided that the hare and dormouse had been tricked into turning the Hatter's delicate, precise clockwork into factory for creating the Infernal Train. This mirrored the Industrial Revolution occurring in Alice's real world. As we designed, we started to make distinction between the original ornate style of the Hatter's domain and the crude industrial style of the new rulers. I can say it already. Lewis Milo, another Tea Party inspired image from the section of the book in which Alice finds piles of dirty cups and dishes. It would be part of Hatter's domain, and the gameplay would involve tricky platforming balance on a very unstable ground. KW, at one point we tried to create this level quite literally, but the plates tower posed a huge technical challenge. It eventually evolved into the area now known as Always Elvinus. So if you cannot program it, you just put it as a background stuff. Okay, Sun Guling. The single-eyed teapot in the Hatter's domain is an enemy player will face in the starting stage. I thought about an angry monster with one eye. It is really a challenge to design something that can walk with 3 legs. I spent a lot of time on this and finally get it. Good for you. Well done. Neko. A teapot cannon. After Alice enters, she shoots out and flies to the target location. The aiming reticle part of the top shows the function of the device. This was supposedly how the tea cannon works or worked. She comes here, it spins, and then it shoots her. What are those? Sun bullying enemy designs for the Hatter's domain. I tried a lot of teapot and cup styled things. They are really interesting, though we finally didn't use them in the game. KW, these critters came up too late to be included in the game. It's unfortunate because they are all awesome designs. Right, Sun Golyang. Ken told me that we needed a key concept for the tea room. The first image that appeared in my mind was hot tea pouring mechanisms and the clocks. As Alice tries to dodge between them, the bottom of the room is covered by hot tea. The final design looks just like this. It's sort of similar to the final project, I think. The giant clock tower. Okay, about in 15 more minutes. The cogs. The Hatter's hat. Alice is right here. San Golyang. In this level, Alice needs to find the Hatter's head. In the original Alice, she broke him into parts, and now she needs to put them back together. I designed the room in which Alice finds the Hatter's head, and then the head tells her where to find the other parts. Yeah, this did happen. The Hatter designs. Taylor located the Hatter eats some steel porridge. Also his hat. Above, Wang Xinghao. I tried to make the Hatter into steam-powered giant robot with wheels. Right, Wu Yuan. Don't worry, I have some kind of an idea how to pronounce these names because I do from time to time watch manhwa. Chinese animation and do read some webcomics for them. Nako, there is a giant hub in the center of the Hatter's domain, and this is on top of it. The design is based on the original game. True. Above, Yuan Shofeng. Below, Ken Wong, a very quick painting to portray the reconstruction room, the junk chamber where Alice meets the remains of the Hatter. I think this is one of the buildings, but wasn't this supposed to be in the first game? Louis Melo. This is an approach to the floating building that's closer to the first game and heavier in material and darkness. Although the teapot elements are everywhere, there is a stronger feeling of the sort of dimensional void as it's impossible to tell if it's day or night. I told you it's from the first game. Lewis Miller. Here is the gate of the domain, which Alice reaches by crashing the cable car as the cloud clear. The clouds clear. It all looks abandoned. Abandoned. The machinery looks broken through the cracked wall, and it seems there's no way in, or is there? Well, no chance but to look for one. There's no going back now. Lewis Miller, just a quick study of scale and depth in the level, and of a few elements that can be used to make or block Alice's path. Lewis Miller. There was an idea that the hub of this stage would be a big clock face. The picture is also a bit of an experiment with a different palette and lighting. Kilung, a paint over of an early version of the team maker, the area that eventually came to be known as Always 11s. Okay. Wow. I think we did see something like this in the game. When Alice takes the cable car to the freak. Lewis Miller. The Hatter's domain is in the first game is rich in alchemical symbology. It's built out of heavy materials and seems to be surrounded by a dark void. We wanted to keep that feeling of surreal place, but make the approach gradual, tying it with the previous location. The Valley of Tears, because some of the story develops in this transition. We sent Alice into the cloud in the teapot cable car, and looming out of the clouds appears the Hatter's domain. I'm not sure why I am so much yawning. Damn it. Lewis Miller. Being an essentially mechanical level, there was plenty of opportunity for device puzzles in the Hatter's domain. Here, Alice must make herself a safe path over boiling tea by controlling simple levers that rotate some platforms. Okay? The teapot's lava. 10 more minutes, then we'll stop. Neko, at that time, we didn't know what the interior of the smelting factory should look like. We tried a lot of designs. This one was made when I was listening to the soundtrack of the first Alice. I could really feel the fantastic style of the game. Wow! Inspiration even from the first game. That's smart. Lewis Miller. This puzzle would work in the exact same way as the previous one, except the path to be connected would be made out of pipes, which would contain a flow of tea. Alice would then navigate along the flow of by floating on empty teacups. Reminds me a lot of the first game also as well, when you had to jump over leaves from the Valley of Tears. Well, that is lots of inspiration from the first game. This must be a rabbit. Ben Kerslick, an early variation of the marsh hare, here somewhat less mechanized than our final design. All the characters incarnated in the Hatter's domain are driven by an unnatural manic energy. KW, an excellent rare piece of Ben Kerslick's art. This is the marsh hare. Lewis Milo. As a consequence of what happened in the first game, both Marsh Hare and the Dormouse are disfigured after torture by the Hatter, but as they took over the domain, they turned their mutations into advantage by boosting their bodies with the clockwork. The nervous Marsh Hare boosts a big sharp clock hand and some springs in his legs for some extra jump power. And we were supposed to fight those both as boss characters, I think. Was this supposed to be an enemy? Keyboard. This is the Martian, I think. Okay, Philip Martins. The Marsh here, and as insane as he is supposed to have some skill with machinery. Not a perfectionist, he manages to scavenge bits and pieces from the Hatter's decaying empire, constructing some of sort of life support from it. That was the initial concept. How were the Marsh here and the Dormouse able to survive without the Hatter? They are like lesser Frankenstein monsters, self-conscious and with some steampunk engineering tricks up their sleeves. Philip is an old friend who did some early concept for us from his home in Brazil. He joined the team about a year later to supervise the 2D cinematics department. Okay. I think 5 more minutes and we will stop. Hopefully in 93 maybe. We went almost half of the book as is. Lots of tea. This is Top. Sun Golyang. This is a bent over based on the map created by level designers. There was just a very rough structure and I needed to put in some ideas to make it into an interesting factory. Above and right, Lewis Milo. In the book, the Dormouse is constantly falling asleep, so he forcefully keeps his eyelids wide open. Unfortunately, that's not enough, and he also needs to be wound up like a toy mouse in order to keep awake. Ow. I think this is the rest of the first image above. I think I may be able to take this entire book and using Photoshop make it from being one page after the other, 2 full pages at once. Philippe Martins. The Marsh here is a lesser Hatter. The Dormouse is a lesser Marsh here. Initially, both characters were supposed to act by themselves as separated bosses, fighting against us. At some point, they would merge like 2 pieces of a bigger robot. How to connect both characters was tricky, but fun to conceptualize. Right, Lewis Mills? Well, they did indeed merge into one big robot, but that robot was instantly destroyed. The Dodo. Sun Golyang. Dodo is an important character in the Alice story. My task was to make him look like he's suffering. I got some ideas and references from the famous movie A Clockwork Orange. I got rid of all of his feathers and made him look pained. Nako, this robot was defeated by Alice in the last game. Now he is damaged and cannot move anywhere. The madcap that controls him has also become a skeleton. So those from the Mad Hatter's domain in the American McGee's Alice were indeed controlled from the inside by Mad Caps. I did notice that. Nako, this is the carriage that brings Alice from the junkyard to the Hatter's domain proper. We used a lot of teapots in this level, and in this case we designed a more mechanical one. I can see you made lots of teapots. Above, Jen Lee KW. The development of this character, the automaton, was particularly tormented. Right, Lewis Melo, the first draft of the cable car that Alice uses to get to the domain gate. This was involved in out of peddling. Okay, we're going now to stop at 96 out of 187. Hopefully, in the next session of these bonus parts, we shall continue on with this book. Yes, the official gameplay and the walkthrough are all are both done for, as is. Hopefully, next time we shall return into 96 and check out whatever is left of this here. I hope we are capable of finishing the bonus parts before we reach the 20th stream. Because honestly, we already finished the game as is. I already showed you all the memories, all the dresses, all the weapons, all the disturbing imagery, everything. With that being said, I think this would be it for today's session. I'd like to pray peace be upon all of my subscribers and commentators, followers, fans, and friends, everyone from the beasts of the Outer Empire, and everyone from the Discord server, free YouTube friends. By name, peace be upon Thunderstruck Gaming, BH09 Gaming, Lex Bear, Marcus, NightCrush31, Mark IC2211, Rogue Agent Karudan, Cryfield, ZPTV123, Matthew 1121, Sagardagon85, R4, Masterpan Gaming, and Bob Express. This has been with you, your host Invisible from Invisible's Gaming channel, Stacking Up Your Hearts for the Exit of the Moon, and this has been with you the second bonus part, the aftermath of Alice Madness Returns. The game we already finished in 10 parts. Stay careful, stay healthy, and stay safe. We are living in uncertain times, unguaranteed times, and everything may happen. So make sure you keep your friends and family close to you. Keep your enemies even closer to you. You don't know when you'll need help and where it will come from. So, with that being said, give credit where credit is due, and give gratitude where gratitude is due. And always remember, it's much easier and simpler to say thank you for someone than it is to buy flowers for the deceased. Next session we shall continue on where we left from in the art book, and hopefully we will finish it off as quick as possible. And let's see how much more information and details were even cut from the game, and how much restrictions were thrown into its face. I am amazed by this art. Invisible with you, sign out. Stop the stream. No need to keep it going anymore.